Union issues are negotiated issues. We have to negotiate our way out. And I must say this, because we threatened last week when we were in Kakamega, that if they don't do it, then they will see. We will do what we are good at. When I was coming to Mombasa on the wee hours of yesterday, I got a letter, and we are meeting the Teacher Service Commission chairman. We already received a letter of the CBA, opening up the CBA negotiations. So we'll be meeting the Teacher Service Commission on 2nd of July. We shall be meeting Teacher Service Commission in their boardroom. And we are sounding the first warning that the Teacher Service Commission must tell us the number of teachers in this country by registration. And those numbers who have applied and have not gotten the jobs, who are engaged and are on the payroll, and those who are yet to be employed but are in the private sector. If they don't give us that, then it means that we have got so many ghost workers in this country. The Ministry of Education equally must give us the number of schools and their sizes. How much money do they disburse? And to what extent do we have deficit to fill the gap? So that is when we can run an economy, especially the education economy in our country. So those are the things which are there. Lastly, I must say this, that as we go to Teacher Service Commission on 2nd of July, the following are some of the highlights of what we have proposed to be negotiated. Basic salary rise between 50 and 100%. 100% for those who are lowly paid and 50% who are currently earning higher perks. House allowance, an increment of 20%, and also before the 20%, we have to be moved to cluster 1, which depicts cities of this land. Then we also have commuter allowance, which must be increased between 200 and 250%. Why must we say this? When these house commuter allowances were fought for, the amount which we, what you call what affects the commuter issue is basically the fuel prices. The fuel prices that time were about 78 shillings per liter. Currently, the fuel prices is about 170 on the average. You can see we are not asking for much. We are just asking for between 200 and 250%. And then hardship allowances. You remember recently, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the chairman has already alluded to it, decided to revise the hardship allowance gazettement and gazettement of areas. We are saying that the current 45 zones must be retained, and also the areas should be expanded to include some of the areas in Baringo, some of the areas in Migori, some of the areas in Bomet, and some of the areas which were threatened with, and some of the areas in Kilifi. We need an expansion of hardship areas. And then we also have the daily subsistence allowance, which Ms. Moses had talked about. It is according to circular which was written by SRC on 7th of August 2023, every worker has the right to daily subsistence allowance when they are working out of station, and that one must be made by the employer. It is not our mistake that the Teacher Service Commission does not budget for this, yet they are the ones who are charged with the management of teachers, and those teachers who are going out for co-curricular activities are supposed to enjoy these perks. At the same time, leave allowance, we propose that it be paid an equivalent of 1 month's salary, not the current categorization where those in job group C3 are getting, I think, 8,000. We are not going to allow that. And then hazardous allowances, which should be 20% of the basic pay. And then we also have overtime allowance. Teachers are the only workers in this country who work 24 hours and 7 days a week. They must be paid overtime allowance. And this one should be regulated according to Employment Act. And then we also have risk allowance of the basic pay, 20% of the basic pay. Risk allowance is different from hazardous allowance. Hazardous allowance are those which are involving teachers working in with chemicals and even materials in workshops. But risk is those people who are working in areas which are prone to banditry, and those who are working in areas related to attacks, which you know, and this region is not exempt. And then you also have postgraduate allowance, which should be 40% of the basic pay. Across board, whether you have masters, you have PhD, you have a degree after P1, we are proposing an increment of 40% on your basic pay. And then we also have extraneous allowance, which is 10% of the basic pay.
JSS, we wanted JSS to be part of the second schools, and we wrote to every office and delivered the letters, including the presidency. But we did not succeed on that because of other reasons, which we know. The push is still there, but the plans moving forward, we must change strategy. For JSS to stand, possibly think about this. I want to speak to you to generate ideas, because for me, I depend on what you generate to speak. That could JSS be an independent school, so that we have 3 levels of schools. We have the primary school, we have JSS led by the people who are in JSS, and we shall win what you are talking about. Because it's the teachers who are teaching JSS that will become the principals and leaders of that particular sector. And then we have the higher school. That will enable the linkage between the second school teachers who are in the JSS and those who are in the senior school to link up, and it will be very, very easy.